when you have to cross back over the mountain range by Shasta and then the Siskiyou Pass. And then if you combine all those things together, you have one heck of a trip. And so I got back late last night. We made it over the pass. I'll share some details on the trip. Isaac had a great time, but I'm happy to be back and a lot of good things that we've got to go over. So today, in fact, what's going on is I came into work today. We have gone through a renovation here in our building, and we're consolidating some space, which is a good idea. And so we got this email about a week ago. And this really is, if you want to know what I am all about, if you want a microcosm of the life of Chad, this would be it. So we get this email, and we each have these workspaces where, not really cubicles, but desks, workspaces, places where you can put your stuff. And I've had the same workspace area for years. So we get this email that, hey, everything in this area needs to be cleared out. Anything you want to keep, get it out of that area because everything's going to be taken away and trashed. No problem. I can do that. So I came in last week, and I went through the process of putting all of my stuff in a box that I was going to move into the studio and then eventually keep some of the stuff in the studio, take the rest of the stuff home. And I've got my work computer that I keep in the studio now. So I got everything cleared off, and the rest of the stuff was just sitting there. But I had everything in a box that I slid up against the wall. I just forgot to slide it around the corner and into the studio. So when I came in today, I had that passing thought. You ever had a thought where you remembered something you were supposed to do, but you couldn't remember if you got it done, and so then you started to grip that maybe you had let something kind of slip through the cracks? Well, that happened to me. I did not slide the box around into the studio. I had everything boxed up and off the desk, but I didn't put it where I was supposed to. It is now gone. And there were a couple of items in there that were relatively important to me. I have a portable hard drive that I keep with me. And what I've done is I've taken every single thing I've done on radio and I put it on the drive. So I've got stuff from 1080. I have stuff from 750. I've got stuff from 95.7 The Game down in San Francisco. And I've got my stuff from here. You know, like 20 plus years of the work that I've done. It's nice to have, so if I want to dive back into it for old interviews or conversations that I've had, then I can have access to it. It was in that box, and they just threw it away. So it took me about 3 minutes. You ever had those moments where you want to erupt like a volcano, and then you're like, it's gone. What can I do? And there you have it. So that happened to me this past weekend. I went down. I had stayed at a hotel about, a week ago, and I had left my toiletry bag that had all my stuff in there. So I'm going on this road trip with Isaac. So I called the hotel, which is about 90 minutes away. So I had to drive 90 minutes out of the way, but I thought, well, I'll just swing by and pick up my toiletry bag, and then I will have all the stuff I need for the trip. Get out to the hotel, and they're like, we don't have the stuff. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have the stuff? I called, and they told me that you had the stuff, and they set it aside for me. Well, they did say that, but our policy is we can't store those type of products. So we threw it away. And so that put me into a tailspin. So we drove to a Target. I had to pick up any of the toiletry items I might need for the rest of the road trip because I was going to be gone for a few days. And then you get to work and you find out that your box with your stuff, I just don't understand how someone with a functional brain could look at that stuff and think, I think I'm just going to throw that away too. No questions asked, maybe not set it aside in the pile of stuff that's not thrown away. It just gets tossed. So there you go. But again, it's a microcosm of my life. Following instructions, but not 100% following instructions and then getting punked in the end. That is my life right there. There you have it. So I know when I get irritated, you ever get mad? Like my body temperature rises. So I'm feeling moist from the inside out now. It's very annoying. But we'll talk to Dave Decker coming up at 3:20. I'll share the road trip. Very interesting with Isaac, as always. And Brad Bakken at 5:20. But I did want to talk about this weekend. All-Star Weekend, well represented by Rip City. And it was just fun. And this is how I feel about the Dame situation. He won the three-point competition. Not a surprise. I mean, the guy's a freaking badass and a big-time shooter. And he now joins Craig Hodges and Larry Bird as the only three-time winners of the three-point shooting championship, the shootout. which is cool because that's good company to have in Hodges and especially Larry Legend. But it was just great for me to tune in and see him competing on that stage in a Trailblazer uniform, doing what he does and doing it for the team in which he belongs. He is Mr. Portland. He belongs in a Trailblazer uniform. He's going to be retired in a Trailblazer uniform. And I just thought it was great to see him out there repping Rip City. It's awesome. It really is awesome. Love Dame. You know, he's a loyal individual. He was loyal to Weber State. He's been loyal to Oakland. He has not forgotten the people who have helped him to get to where he's at. And he's loyal to the Trailblazers because they showed trust in him and drafted him. And when he had a chance to make a choice again, he chose to come back. He never wanted to leave in the first place. But when you get people around you that think you need to leave and they're putting pressure on you to leave and you feel like you need to get to a different market to be able to compete, and sometimes that pressure will take you away from what your heart really wants. So to see Dame back in a Trailblazer uniform doing great things was awesome. And I love it. And to anyone out there who had a problem with Dame competing, even though he's on IR with the Achilles tear, you can suck it. I don't care what you think. The All-Star Weekend is about entertainment and having fun. And the best way to do that for basketball fans is to have your stars out there. And Dame in that competition made the competition watchable, and it was just great to see him out there. I thought it was fun to see Hansen and Klingon get a chance to compete against one another. But seeing Denny Avdia in a Trailblazer uniform in his first All-Star game was great. He was out there representing his country, his home state of Israel. He was a beacon of light for the Jewish people, and you could tell that he was very happy to be out there, very thankful to have that opportunity. And the great part about Denny, he's such a great player, you could see the respect that the other stars have for him because of the way he plays. And I think what will happen is with each passing all-star opportunity that he gets, he'll be more aggressive and look to score more. I think when you get out there for the first time against those type of stars, you are maybe a little more hesitant than you normally would be. Maybe you defer a little bit more, but you just need more opportunities on that stage with those players to get a chance to, you know, really get comfortable and realize that, hey, it's okay to be aggressive and maybe look to score a little bit more. But that's not Denny's game. He likes to set other guys up. Very unselfish. And what I like about those opportunities for guys like Denny, who's still young, for Klingon and for Hansen, I've thought about this about the Olympics and Team USA for years. I think there's great value in players having an opportunity in those spots. Anytime you can get around other great players, like the best of the best, to talk to them, to ask questions, to see how they operate, I think it makes you a better player. You could probably relate to this, right? Regardless of what your line of work is, if you're around people that are really good at what they do, you ask questions, you listen, you watch, you observe, you're probably going to get better at that craft, which is cool. And that's really what it's all about. So, love it. I'm a big fan of Denny. And I'm excited about this stretch run because the Blazers are getting healthy at the right time. Their schedule shapes up nicely. And I think it's going to be fun to sit back and watch and see how it plays out. The Blazers are definitely going to be in the play-in. I guess my dream scenario would be to have Portland slide up to the 8th spot and be in that 7-8 game where you only need to win one game to become a part of the postseason and earn yourself that 7 seed. So that's my dream scenario, but most importantly, just sit back and watching the young guys continuing to develop the young core. So there you have it. That's kind of where I'm at on that. I also have come across this new guy on YouTube. I found a new guy, and I always encourage you, if you have, different YouTube creators or podcast creators, people that you enjoy listening or watching, let me know, and I'll continue to share mine with you. But I have stumbled across another one. This guy's great. He talks business. He talks about great American brands, the rise and the fall. He's just got a good mind. So I'll share that with you as well. I always want more ideas. The shows I've been streaming of late, I have crushed Landman, season 1 and 2. A little bit inappropriate at times, but great show. Billy Bob is terrific in that. And Ali Lauder is phenomenal. That's been a good show. His and Hers was a little short series, very good. And I'm just underway on Tulsa King. From what I've been told, and I would agree, the first episode's a little bit kooky. It's weird. It's goofy. But from the people I trust, it gets really good real quick. So that's what I'm on now. And outside of that, just enjoying the time. This final stretch, the 26 games, at the end of the NBA season is wild because there's so many games in such a short period of time. And, making that adjustment out of football season, it takes me a couple of weeks to kind of readjust the mind in terms of what's coming up next. But we got the stretch run of basketball. Not too big on the Winter Olympics myself, but I am looking forward to the start of baseball because the Mariners are going to be legit. The Dodgers are going to have an all-star team once again. I think there's going to be some great storylines in baseball that we'll have a chance to sit back and watch. But right now, it's about the Blazers. And with Denny Avdia and Shaden Sharp, who I expect back real soon, and Donovan Clingan, and the rest of this young core, we're seeing some good things. But now, most importantly for the stretch run, with the team being healthy or having relative health, we're going to be able to see them get back and play the style of basketball that was intended when the year began. The other thing I'll get to today, too, is, I want to share some insight on what I've been hearing, around the new owner, Tom Dundon. I know there's a lot of panic. People are always worried. We're always sensitive here in Portland about someone stealing our team, about the Trailblazers leaving. It's been a fear for a long time, but I'm hearing some good things, some really good things, and just want to provide a little optimism. I know it's rare in today's world where, people are going to be optimistic or share a good story. That doesn't really sell, does it? The cat being saved out of the tree by the fireman, that's not a big seller. But selling fear and the threat of something leaving, it does. But I'm hearing some good things. And I'll share everything else I'm hearing on Dundon as well. It's not going to be the first pro team he's owned. He's based out of Carolina with the NHL. So I'll share some of the insights. But I'm excited, because most importantly, what do I care most? I've shared this before. I want an owner that wants to win badly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I want an ownership group or an owner that wants to win as much as I want to see the team win. And then for the guys who are rich, are they willing to spend money? Resources. Are they willing to invest whatever it takes to win and make it happen? Paul Allen was that guy. He was really rich, and he wanted to win, and he loved the Trailblazers. And because of that, because of his willingness to spend, he saved the Seahawks, for crying out loud. But his willingness to spend and his desire to win and how much he loved the Blazers, I knew his heart was in the right place. He didn't always make the right call or the right decision. No one does. But at least I knew his motives were pure, and I like that. Do you want to win, and are you willing to use your resources to make that happen? Okay, Dave Deckard, we got some great news. And I want to give everyone props on something really special, and we'll do that with Dave Deckard coming up next. All right, reach out to me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. I'm still ticked off that my stuff got thrown away. It's going to take me a bit of it may take me the rest of the evening to get over that one. How can you look at that box and be like, that's gone? I set it aside. It's like, gosh, Chad, you would think you would know by now. Follow instructions to a T, and then you don't put yourself in these binds. It's my fault. I'm an idiot. I'm still ticked off, though, because how someone could look at that and think, yeah, this needs to go. My hard drive. Give me back my hard drive. I'm insignificant, but that's 25 years of my life that I had access to gonzo now. It was like a journal, an audio journal. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, talking hoop next, and we got to give props to you. We'll tell you why. You got the Rip City Drive. It's pretty funny. My boss, one of my bosses, he just came by and said, "Are you okay now?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." He goes, "Do you need to punch anything or anyone?" He goes, "I offer up Casey Bay beef water." So beef water was offered up if I needed to punch somebody. But I'm like, no, I don't need to punch anyone. I just needed a few minutes to explode and then calm back down. Well, I'm very happy to go to the phones. We got some great news. And joining me right now is my good friend. He is the man behind BlazersEdge.com, which is the Trailblazer site, the one and only Dave Deckard. What's up, Dave?
How's it going, Chad?
Well, fabulous. After I got your message over the last couple of days, Rip City never ceases to amaze me. But why don't you give the latest details on Blazers Edge Night, which is coming up on March 10th?
Yeah, sure. That's a night, for those who don't know, where we send kids and their chaperones from the local area who otherwise wouldn't be able to see a game to see the Blazers play. As you said, it's March 10th versus the Charlotte Hornets. About a little over a week ago, 10 days ago, we have still had over 1,000 tickets from our allotment undonated. So at the website and with your listeners and whatever, we put the news out. And in less than 10 days, we not only sold those 1,000, but 670 some more. So I believe the final number was 2671, which is the biggest event so far. So we're actually, if I can take a second, we're actually in an inverse situation right now. We have a few tickets available if you work with kids who are underserved at a school in an area where that is common. You can go ahead and email me at blazersub@gmail.com. That's Blazer, as in the team, SUB, @gmail.com. And you'll need to do it from your education email. We don't give these out privately, unfortunately. They have to go to people who actually work with kids. Anyway, if you want to take some kids that night, we have a few spots available, so email me and let me know.
It's really awesome. I mean, over 1,000 tickets in less than a week, and now it's going to become the biggest Blazers Edge night of all time. I just wanted to give thanks to everyone, and there are people listening right now who stepped up, whether it was a ticket or it was multiple tickets. Just a big thank you to Rip City for stepping up and making that night special, Dave. Like, it never ceases to amaze me, the hearts of people and their willingness to step up and help out in a moment like this, especially when it involves kids. I love it.
I mean, even the arena, we're at capacity. Over 10% of the arena would be our participants on that night, and it's really more like an eighth or a seventh when you consider their actual attendance. So it's a significant event, and a lot of kids get to have the biggest day of their year because of this, and we certainly thank all the listeners out there and everyone who makes this possible.
All right, Dave, I want to ask you about the three-point shooting contest. Dame now joins Craig Hodges and Larry Bird as the only three-time winners of the competition. He was on that stage in a Trailblazer uniform doing Dame-type things. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story, right? It's the best story the NBA could have had. I mean, Devin Booker shot really well, and it looked like he was going to win it. But as often happens at the All-Star game, the story, the narrative tends to win out. In this case, that worked for Portland's favor. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better moment, a more heartwarming moment for Blazer fans. Everybody, the national broadcasters were saying how good it was to see Damian Lillard back in a Blazers uniform, more or less where he belonged. So it was a shining moment in the sun for a team that's really kind of middle of the pack and doesn't have a lot of those. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think for Denny Avdia, one thing I've noticed with players who are getting a chance to play in the All-Star game for the first time, I think sometimes maybe a little bit hesitant when they're playing with so many great players and, learning how that situation works and how to, assert yourself, how to step back and defer and stuff like that. I think he was just thankful to have that opportunity to be out there. I enjoyed watching Denny get a chance to play.
Well, there are two things with the All-Star games. I mean, first of all, you kind of know heading in. If there's a brilliant star or a guy who's at home in his home arena, he's going to be featured, so Denny wasn't either of those things. Denny is also an all-around player. You say he scores 26 points a game. Yes, he does, but there are other all-stars who do that. He's a defender. That's not much good in the all-star game. He's a distributor. He's a rebounder. All those things are really underplayed in that kind of exhibition. So it's not like Denny's going to step up and be the glittering star that's going to go to someone else. But hey, he got in there. He got his name recognized. He's an all-star for forever now, and there was no guarantee a couple years ago when the Blazers got him that he would ascend to that level. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. All that matters is there will be a little asterisk by his name for the rest of his life that says NBA All-Star 2026.
All right. I put out my best case scenario for the Blazers over the final 26 games, and that would be to, emerge and become the 8 seed and get in that 7-8 play-in game with only needing one win to become a part of the playoffs. I did have some pushback from Blazer fans who did not want to sacrifice the lottery pick, and they've got that situation with Chicago with the protections. Where do you come out on that? Would it be better for the team to make the play-in but miss the playoffs, or how do you see that?
Well, I mean, better is in the eye of the beholder. They need to win some games and play in games that matter. So in the short term, it's certainly better for them to win. I think for their morale and their building plans, it's better for them to win. I think that's pretty clear. And I don't think they mind, in general, sacrificing that pick to Chicago because it gets it out of the way. Then the obligation is cleared, and whatever happens with pick swaps or whatever in years to come, then you don't have to worry about it, right? So I think it would be fine for them to make the play-in. If they don't, here's the issue. They're not going to drop down to an organic spot that's good. Everybody below them is now tanking. The Blazers could have 6 injuries and play mediocre ball and still end up in the 10th position, which means their odds of actually leaping up are very low. First of all, you can only leap up to the first 4 picks, right? And second of all, your odds are low at that point. So what you're probably doing is sacrificing a chance at playing those meaningful games for what ends up being the 12th pick. Hey, you can take the 15th pick and get close to that, or the 16th pick, and still be okay. So I would say, and also, by the way, if they don't make the playoffs, they're still in that.
Yeah.
So I would say all signs point to go ahead, win all the games you can, make the playoffs, and if you have to give up that pick to Chicago, do it. Yeah,
I'm with you on that 100%. I think the teams, the way the schedule sets up, it looks like they're going to be able to have a pretty good final stretch run with the 26 games that they have yet to play. What are you most excited about watching through the stretch run, or what are you going to be paying attention to? What's going through your mind?
Well, first of all, let's dispense with the schedule because I don't think it would surprise anybody to see the Blazers go 20-6, and I don't think it would surprise anybody to see the Blazers go 6-20. They are that variable, and it doesn't matter the opponent. It's just the night. It's whatever happens. They're not random, but they're not a sure thing. So I think the most exciting thing is just riding this out and seeing if they can put some good games together. They've got some definite assets. They've got reasonable defenders. They've got good offensive rebounding, unselfishness, and they got fast pace. Those will get them through the end of the regular season. There are still some major flaws. They're not great defenders. They're only mediocre defenders at best. That's not going to get it done. They are still bad shooters, and they're giving up a deficit in field goal percentage and three-point percentage. That is not good. They still give up more turnovers than anybody in the league. That is not good. Their point differential overall is -2, and that's really, really not good because that's usually the best indicator of how good your team is. So, look, if you have delusions that the Blazers are good, they're probably going to dispel you of those. But can the Blazers get hot? Can they make a meaningful run? Can the end of this season be exciting? Absolutely, and I think that's what Blazer fans should go for right now.
All right, Dave, for ownership, we have a new owner coming in Tom Dundon. How do you evaluate an owner? Like, what are the most important things to you? I mentioned mine earlier on the show. I just want to know that whoever the owner is, they have a desire to win and that they're willing to use and utilize their resources to try and make that happen. Like, how do you view ownership and what are you looking for in an owner?
Well, I mean, you have the baseline of, I think Blazer fans especially will want a personal owner rather than a corporate owner. In other words, someone who doesn't treat this just like a business.
Yeah.
You want some competitiveness. But once you've got that, you have to ask which generation of owner do you have, because those vary. When an owner comes in the league, they usually act certain ways as they're undergoing their learning process. Often they're hyper-aggressive. Sometimes they make big or flashy moves rather than smart moves. Do the Blazers have to go through a learning process with that and Dundon? And who's going to be his GM, by the way? Will it be a kind of middle-of-the-road, keep your hands on the wheel, drive safely guy like Joe Cronin has been? Or will it be a flashy, splashy, all-in guy? that could yield great results, but it could also be a disaster. So you've got that first, couple years of ownership where you have a different guy. The real question is, after that, after we've been through 3 or 4 years, what does that look like? Remember, this happened almost exactly with Paul Allen. He inherited the Drexler teams. He rode those out, and that was great. But then what happened? Trader Bob Whitsitt, you got you got 6 trades a year, you got splashy free agents, you got whatever. That lasted till about 2000, and then from 2000 until 2018 or so, and really to today, the Blazers remain pretty even-keeled. I expect you're going to get something like that from Dundon. The only question again is how far do you go up in the short term, and how much risk do you take in doing so?
All right, Dave Decker, BlazersEdge.com. The only thing that we have to do now is make sure that you and I connect on Blazers Edge night so that we can spend some time together on air. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely, always love it. Hop in studio, see your fancy microphones and your world-class fashion sense and all that stuff that is Chad doing. I mean, there's nothing like being there in person.
Who is your favorite musician of all time, band or artist? Who's number one for you?
Oh, gosh, it's so impossible to pick a favorite. It kind of depends on your era. But, I mean, there's seminal things like a lot of old R&B stuff.
Yeah.
There's, of course, the Beatles and stuff like that, the Police.
The Police are
stuff
awesome.
That's coming back. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that's come back, right? Say whatever you want about Gen Z, but they can find a bop. And they just are shameless about it. So I kind of like this new renaissance, this music from like the 1970s that's recycling. So I like that kind of stuff too.
All right. Are you Gen X? What generation are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of borderline X-ish.
Okay. All right, that works. All right, Dave Deckard, the man behind BlazersEdge.com. Congratulations on Blazers Edge Night. This is awesome. Great news. 2,671 tickets. So if you are an educator and you need tickets, use your .edu email address and send Dave a message at blazersub@gmail.com because they have a surplus. We have a freaking surplus of tickets right now. This is amazing.
Yeah, that late surge did it, and it's pretty incredible. So we've never had that situation before, and frankly, I love it.
All right. So who do we need to give a special shout out to? So SB Nation, Kelly Acoin, who loves the Blazers, and Porque No?
Yeah, Porque No. Absolutely. And you guys.
All right. Well, Dave, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
There you go. All right. So thank you. You guys heard the message, you listened, and you stepped up and bought tickets. And I appreciate that. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. If you're just joining me, I'm still a little bit heated. I had a lot of stuff thrown away in the office because I didn't follow instructions completely. Almost, but not quite. I set my stuff in a box next to the wall, got it off the desk, and they're clearing out stuff to make room for whatever they're doing with the remodel of our studio. Unbelievable. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah. Oh, well. Came off the road trip down to the Bay Area with my son. Made it over the Siskiyou Pass yesterday. I don't know how, but we did. I saw about 40 cars piled up into each other. That was fun. And my son had a great time. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Next Blazer game's coming up on Friday. The Denver Nuggets are going to be in town. That tip-off from Moda Centers at 7. And Brendan Slaughter will have game day live from Moda starting at 5 o'clock with the tip-off at 7. And then Sunday, they're going to be on a little roadie down to the desert with a 5 o'clock tip against the Phoenix Suns. So that's the first 2 games out of the gate for your Trailblazers as they get ready for the final 26. And I looked at the games. You can go through and come up with your own number. I think, based on the way the schedule sets up, they're going to go 19-7. And that's going to put them well over 500, and they'll be squarely in the play-in. And then we'll see what they can do. And I'm with Dave. These players, the young core, and I'm talking Scoot, Denny, Tamani, and Klingon, Those are the four guys primarily I look at because their growth and development is critical. But they're going to play in more meaningful games down the stretch than they ever have, and they're going to get their first taste of the postseason. And those games and those moments, that experience is going to be very valuable for them moving forward in terms of understanding how to, step their game up in those moments, developing more confidence, and just getting that experience overall as they continue to move forward as a group. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be awesome. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so at 88528 on the Rip City Radio text line. You may call at 503-248-0620. If you got any thoughts on what you're looking for in the final 26. Also, what do you think about that pick? If the Blazers make the playoffs and become one of the top 8, that pick goes and conveys to Chicago. Chicago! If they make the play-in but miss out on the playoffs, then they keep their pick. And for me, I'm all about winning right now. Just win, and if you make the postseason, then so be it with the pick. That experience is going to be critical for these guys. And I think they're going to play some great basketball down the stretch because they're finally healthy. The shooting numbers, I would expect the three-point percentage to tick up a bit because they're going to have better players on the floor, better shooters, guys who can make shots. And with the creators like Scoot and Denny, they're going to create more open looks for the guys around them who can step up and knock down those shots. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Reach out to me on the text line at 88528, and we can further this conversation. Brad Botkin, we'll dive around the NBA with him at 520. I'm very anxious to see what the Pistons are going to be able to do come postseason time. I guess in my life in the East, I need a Detroit-New York matchup in the playoffs again because of the physicality and the way those two teams will play. My only question mark for Detroit would be if and when the game becomes half court, do they have the shooters and the execution to be able to win a half court series against a team like the Knicks? My guess would be no, but I want to get Brad Botkin's take on it because what the Pistons don't want is too much Cade Cunningham and not enough movement. They're better when they're working in transition, rebounding, defense, transition, and getting easy buckets. But if it slows down, and the playoffs are, the game always changes come postseason time. It slows down and becomes a half-court game. How will the Pistons respond to that? And with the Cavaliers, they would appear to be a dangerous team right now. With the addition of James Harden, their shooting capabilities, two bigs who are legit in the pick and roll, their defense, they look like they could be a very dangerous team. Now, in the Western Conference, I just think it's Oklahoma City and everybody else. I don't think anyone's going to beat Oklahoma City when push comes to shove. I think we'll get some great series potentially maybe with San Antonio and the Denver Nuggets because of Jokic. But when they lock in, I just don't see how the Thunder are not going to emerge and get back to the NBA Finals. They're the best team in the NBA. 503-248-0620. We'll keep things rolling. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I'm sure many of you have seen the headline that the Allen estate has begun the process of selling the Seahawks. From what I've heard from my contacts up there, that the expected ownership group could possibly be Bezos and a group from Amazon, or potentially look at the Clippers' red-faced owner from Microsoft. Those two people, and also I think Jody Allen's in play to have a percentage of the team as well. So we'll keep an eye on that situation, but there's no doubt about it that the Seahawks are in a great spot right now. They've done a heck of a job with that team. They're coming off a Super Bowl win, and they've got great leadership in place with head coach Mike McDonald, and more importantly, their general manager, John Schneider. Paul Allen never gets the credit that he deserves. He loves the Blazers. That's his first love, and he made no bones about it. Loved basketball and was a junkie. But he's the one that stepped in and saved the Seahawks after the Bearing family tried to, hightail it out of Seattle in the middle of the night and move the team to L.A. He stepped in, and he bought the team, and he promised to keep the team there for a long time if the people would step up and assist in funding for a brand new football stadium. And they did, and the rest is history. The team is now one of the best in the NFL, a well-run organization, and, it's because of Paul Allen. Blazer fans are weird. Like, Paul Allen was awesome in my mind, and yet he always received criticism about, being too much of a meddler. But I've never worried about owners being meddlers. My whole thought is like, if you spend billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to buy a team, and you save a team, and you are willing to put your capital into that, then you have the right to be a part of the decision-making. You can meddle as much as you want, so I don't really worry about that too much. I just know that he did a great job with the Seahawks. And it was his hire of Mike Holmgren that really changed everything. Holmgren came in and laid the foundation for what we see today. Convinced Paul to build a brand new facility so that players would have better access to care, better workout facilities, better nutrition, and everything kind of took off from there. Pete Carroll was able to come in and win a championship after Holmgren got to a Super Bowl, but came up short against the Steelers. And then they made the tough decision to move on from Pete and the floppy hair and then bring in Mike McDonald. And they were smart to give John Schneider more power, more autonomy, more decision-making ability. And look at the results. Good draft picks, good decisions in personnel, the maneuver to get Sam Darnold, unload Geno Smith, which at the time, a lot of people, not myself, but some people thought it was crazy, and you win his championship. But it all starts with Paul Allen, so props to him. Now, with the new ownership that's coming in Tom Dundon, I've heard a few different things, and I can't give up specific details because, I was sworn to secrecy, but I will say this would be my big takeaway with Dundon. The reports, if you talk to people who have been around the hockey team in Carolina, he's an aggressive individual, a shrewd businessman, and he's a tough negotiator. But I think all of those things can be good, especially when you're dealing with, local and state officials to get things done, to get the funding you need, to get the arena upgrades that are necessary moving forward. He's going to fight for everything that he wants, and I'm okay with that. But the one thing I do like, and this is something I do know from what I've been told, and this is what gives me hope, I never have much hope in local politicians for them to understand the big picture and what's truly important and how to make a city and economy, local economy thrive. I've never been too convinced that people here in Portland or in the state of Oregon have a true understanding of the importance and value of sports in the community. So that always makes me nervous. But there are some really smart people in the business community that are working with Dundon to make things happen with the Rose Quarter and with Moda Center. And so when you know about some of the smart minds and the brilliant ideas that they have to get things done, it gives me a lot of hope. Now, the vote that's coming up here in the near future for expansion in the NBA, from what I've been able to gather, I believe that it's a done deal. I don't think Adam Silver, the commissioner, would put that vote up if he didn't feel like he had the votes needed to approve expansion. He wants expansion. He wants 2 more teams added. I think he's going to get it. And those 2 places, of course, will be Las Vegas and Seattle. Now, how much does Seattle getting an expansion team lessen the likelihood of Portland moving? I don't know the answer to that because there are other cities that would die to have a team like the Trailblazers. But I do know that Dundon is going to do everything he can to get what he needs to keep the team here long term. And there are smart minds who are coming up with some brilliant ideas to make things happen. That much I can tell you. So that part excites me. So in the end, I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses. And knowing that we have some, smart people, innovative minds with brilliant ideas that are working behind the scenes to get things done, it gives me a lot of hope moving into the future. So there you have it. That's kind of a quick update on where I'm at on with that. On the other side, people who work for the team, Dundon is going to, based on previous track record, he's a guy that's like smart business people will look to save costs. So I think some people are concerned about that. That's understandable as well. But in the end, like I've said before with an ownership, and I think Dave mentioned this, it's smart. You want someone that's going to be a local owner, not the corporate feel. That's not Portland, right? We like hands-on, local, someone who's going to be involved. And I think he's someone that's going to want to win, and he will be involved. And that's exciting to me. Like I said, I have a very simple, wish list for ownership of any of my teams. One, do they want to win? Like literally like win. And I mean like trying to do whatever you can to get to the top of the mountain and win a championship. Because championships are awesome. And they mean a lot to the communities. And once you get one as a fan, no one can ever take it away. You get to live and enjoy those memories forever. It's special. So do you want to win, and are you trying to win a championship? After that, are you willing to utilize the resources that you have to make it happen? Meaning you're trying to win and you're willing to spend to do that instead of, as Dave put it, looking at it as a business opportunity to make money. So there you have it. That's what I'm looking for. Do you want to win, and are you willing to spend your resource to make it happen? If the answer to both those questions is yes, then we're good. I can live with everything else. So I'm excited about the future. I am excited. And we'll see how things continue to develop. But some of the ideas I've heard for what they can do to revitalize the area, pretty exciting. Very exciting, I would say. So there you have it. That's the latest on that. But keep an eye on Amazon and Ballmer for potential ownership of the Seahawks, with maybe potentially Jody Allen being involved in that mix as well. Those are just some of the whispers that I've been hearing. I know a lot of people up in Seattle, so we'll see how that continues to shake out, but that's where we're at. And the Blazers, of course, once the NBA confirms it, then Dundon will have and assume control of the team, and we'll move forward. All right, I do want to talk about Doug Moe. If you want to trace back the beginning stages of my early childhood when I fell in love with sports, the reason why I gravitated to the NBA early on was because of Doug Moe, who just passed away, and he was a legend and a great coach, but most importantly, he was the man behind the most exciting form of basketball I've ever seen, and part of the reason why I love the NBA. So I want to talk about Doug Moe as well. And Brad Bocking going to talk ball with me at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock chat here. We start with the Trailblazers, who will begin their stretch run post All-Star break coming up on Friday. The Denver Nuggets are going to be in town. Tip-off from Moda Center at 7. Brendan Slaughter will have Game Day Live at 5 from Moda Center. And it's all right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. And after the game on Friday, they'll travel to Phoenix to take on the Suns Sunday with a tip-off at 5 o'clock. Every game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app. And don't forget, every Tuesday throughout the season on the RipCityDrive, Drive, it's Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, your chance to win tickets to every single upcoming home game. We're going to talk NBA with Brad Botkin of CBS Sports coming up on the RipCityDrive Drive at 5:20. And according to reports, the Allen Trust has begun the process of selling the Seattle Seahawks. More of the RipCityDrive Drive is coming up right now. Brad Botkin at 5:20. All right, Rip City Drive. I am back from the road trip with my son Isaac. And I think a lot of you who have children with special needs, you can relate. So I like to share my stories so you can understand you're not the only ones out there, that I'm dealing with the same types of things. So my son, he'll turn 23 on February 27th. My daughter, Kaylee, turned 16 yesterday. So that makes me feel old. Isaac's going to be 23. My daughter's now of driving age, which is crazy. She's on winter break right now, so she's having a good time. But my son wanted to go on another road trip. Now, as a father of a son with autism, and Isaac's high functioning on many levels, you know, the biggest challenge I've had over the course of time has been, you know, finding ways to relate to him. I think what happens, or at least in my experience, you know, we knew that something was a little bit different with Isaac when he was young, you know, 1.5, 2 years old. And it was actually my brother who told me and my son's mom, like, you need to get him checked out. I think there might be something going on. He didn't know exactly what it was, but based on his eye contact and the way he interacted at a young age, it was my brother who encouraged that. So we ended up taking him to get tests. And after the examinations, the test, they diagnosed him as autistic. Well, when you first find out, you're like, well, what the flip is autism? And then you deal with the different stages of grief. And I was in denial for a long period of time. And the hard part was like trying to relate to someone who sees the world differently. And I'm still struggling with trying to figure out how to connect with my son because he doesn't communicate in the ways that quote unquote normal people do, or the way the majority of us do. You know, his way of communication is different. And so the challenges, you know, that we encountered were everything. Routine, not breaking the routine, or he would get really frustrated. Having a desire to only eat the same types of foods every day, day after day after day. Now, that has changed a little bit with time, where he's been more open to trying different things. But the biggest issue had been the routine-oriented nature of what he needed. And if you, and I learned this over time, if you're going to break the routine in terms of what he's expecting, you got to give him a heads up or he's going to freak out on you. Very difficult. But he was able to graduate, and he's got a driver's license. He drives really well, and that's because he follows the manual from the state of Washington to a T. Very good driver. He's always had a very big interest in vehicles. which is part of the reason why he loves road trips. He would rather drive in a vehicle anywhere across the country than be in an airplane. And ever since Kobe died, he uses that as an excuse to not fly so that he can drive wherever he wants to go. He'll do whatever he can to convince someone to get in a car and drive long distances. So I guess the biggest thing I learned about Isaac or the autism was once I recognized or realized that I needed to stop expecting him to be like me or to relate to the world like you and I do and start to take more of an interest in what he enjoys and what he likes and how he sees things. Once I figured that out, then I was able to create more of a bond and a connection with him. Well, it's been a challenge the whole time. So one of the ways that we connect is through road trips. He will come to me and say, hey, I want to go here. And I'm like, okay, let me take a look at the calendar and when I can take some time off and we'll make that happen. You come up with the route and which direction you would like to go, and then we'll make it happen. And so over the course of the last several years, we've gone on a variety of different road trips. We once flew to Phoenix to see some family, and then we drove back up to the Bay Area. We have driven from the Bay Area up to Portland. We've been to Canada. We've driven to Boise multiple times. We've gone to so many different places, ocean shores. And the advantage of having him and doing these road trips is that it's put me in a position where I would have never been before. So I've had a chance to see things I would have never seen had I not been on those road trips. So I've learned to enjoy it. Although the long hours and the driving, like anyone else, it gets tired. But he loves it, man. And he's a great partner to have on the road because he's totally into it. He pays attention. He's got certain places he likes to stop at. Like he'll keep you company. Like he is in his realm when he's in a car on the road driving anywhere. He loves it. So this time around, he wanted to go, and he's been wanting to go down there for a long time, to Manteca, California. There's a Great Wolf Lodge down there. And I'm telling you, if you want to spend piles of cash and you want certain anxiety, go to Great Wolf Lodge. Chaos, absolute chaos, and you're going to spend a lot of money. So he's been wanting to go to Manteca for a long time. I don't think it's so much because he wanted to go to Great Wolf Lodge, but because it's over 10 hours away in a vehicle. I think it comes down to the length of the road trip, and so he just picks places on the map that he can go to. And when he found out there was a Great Wolf Lodge there, he thought, well, that's the destination point. Now, the one thing you've got to understand about Isaac is the hardest thing that he deals with in life, from what I can tell, and again, without him telling me or being able to verbalize it, I would say the biggest challenge from what I can see is this. It's socialization. It's connecting with human beings, being able to create relationships. He can't do it. It's very difficult for him in terms of how he communicates, how he approaches people, being able to create a connection and develop a friendship. And with Isaac, especially as he's gotten older, he's a big dude now, tall. He's got Jesus hair. His facial hair is unkept, so he's a bit, he looks like, if you don't know him, he looks kind of scary. So when he approaches people, he invades personal space. He's got personal space. He invades. He's a close talker. He talks loud, like all of these things that just violate any of our social norms. So, but he loves to connect with people. He loves human beings. And so any type of captive audience that he's got, like a church or a place like Great Wolf Lodge where everyone's in one place where he can walk around and talk to people whether they want him to or not, he loves those type of environments. And so that's what we did. I took him down there. He had an appointment. We went to an appointment down there, and he got a chance to be on the open road. Now, the problem is the weather. After we crossed over into California, there were all of a sudden winter alerts with storms that were coming in, which meant getting back up over the pass around Shasta and by Mount Shasta. And then once you come down into Wairika, and then you have to go over the Siskiyou Pass to get to Ashland. Great concern because if they closed the pass, you got no way to get home, and we would have been stranded down there. So we got up yesterday. I'm like, we got to get on the road because of, the weather. We got to make sure we put ourselves in the best position possible to get up over the pass. So we did, and that was some of the stressful, those stretches of roadway where the visibility's poor, weather's not great, you're concerned about the roads, like stressful driving. So we made it over the pass, and we got to Wairika. He loves to eat at the Black Bear Diner in Wairika. But we didn't have time to stop and eat because it was like 4:30 when we arrived in Wairika. And so we had to get up over the pass. And so I'm like, son, we don't have time to stop. We can, stop in Medford or Roseburg or somewhere else, but we have to get over the pass. If we stop, it's going to get colder. The sun's going down. It's going to put us in a bind. Well, I forgot to mention, too, the one scary part. So I think it was right up there, right around Shasta National Park, when you're getting ready to go up and start to climb the mountains. We came around this bend on a turn, and it was an area on the roadway which had been hammered by, I don't know, sleet or hail. But there was one little small stretch that at the bottom of a steep incline on the freeway that had been pelted. And when I came around the corner, I was prepared, so I was already driving slow. Well, I started to slide. And so I just took my foot off the accelerator, and I was able to control it. But on the other side of the freeway, the I-5, it was right at the bottom of the hill. There must have been 30 to 40 cars, including semis, that had all hit that area and slid into one another. And so it was a big pileup. And so there was a cop on the other side of the freeway who was doing a little S motion with his vehicle to get cars to slow down, because if not, they would have been involved in that mashup as well. Fortunately, we were going the other direction. I didn't know when I saw that area. I don't know how we made it up that hill, but we did. And I just kept waiting for things to get worse. And even though it was snowing heavily, the temperature was warm enough to where it wasn't sticking to the ground. And so we were able to get up over the mountain there by Shasta, and we got past Weed and down into Wairika. Well, when we started up the pass, the Siskiyou Pass, same thing. The clouds were there. It started snowing, but we were able to make it. And the scary part was just coming down. They had done a good job of treating the roads and getting the sand down. So when we were coming down the steep grade, I think it's like a 6% grade or whatever it is, we're coming down, probably about 10 miles away from Ashland. I just took it slow. I was concerned because I had a bunch of semis, and they're hauling ass coming down the hill, of course. So I was just trying to steer clear to make sure that if one of them lost control, I'd have time to get out of the way. But we made it down, and once we got to Ashland and into Medford, it was just wet roads. Temperature was probably about 37, 38 degrees. It was fine. So once Isaac saw, he got really ticked off that we didn't stop at Black Bear. But once he saw the roads and the pass, he understood. But that's the challenge with Isaac. He gets, you got to prepare him for those things or he'll get ticked off. But most importantly, he had a great time, and he made a bunch of friends, or he forced people to become friends, however you look at it. But those are the moments, I look back, and it's mostly stressful. Like it's not, when you go on road trips with, a special needs kid, it's not all fun and games. There's stressors involved. You're always concerned. You're worried about this and worried about that. And the stress level or anxiety that he's under if he becomes overstimulated. So I've just learned to understand that when you go on a road trip, or we head out on a road trip together, it's not going to be, rainbows and sunshine. There's going to be a lot of challenges involved, which there are. But I don't know how to explain it. I guess they just learn to embrace it and try to find the happy moments. And, if he enjoys himself and has a good time, then that's all that matters. But he'll remember that stuff forever. The room number, the people, the different hotels we stayed at, everything along the way, he remembers that. He'll also remember and remind me that we did not stop to eat at Black Bear Diner. He was really ticked off. But we got through it. So there you have it. We got back, spent, 12 hours in a car yesterday. That was a lot of fun. You ever notice how you get older, like sitting in a car? Like every time I got out to stretch, I was like, dude, I need like a chiropractic adjustment right now. Why does my body feel like this? But we survived. Isaac had a good time. He had fun. But it's never pretty. It's always a little bit messy when you get special needs children. But like I've said before, the best part about Isaac, unlike everyone else in my life, there's no sugarcoating with him. If he's happy, If he's mad at you, he'll let you know that too. He just says whatever's on his mind. There's no filter there, which is quite refreshing. I love it when he says that. You're really pissing me off right now, Dad. I would have never said that to my dad, but he tells me and he means it. But at least I know. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive. Next Blazer game coming up on Friday. Tip off with the Nuggets at 7. Brendan Slaughter will have game day at 5 live from Moda Center. And it's all right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. And don't forget, every Trailblazer game streams live via our free iHeartRadio app. Yeah, I've got some people that can relate to my situation with Isaac. A friend of mine just reached out and said, Sarah and I know that when we go on a trip with the three of us, we're not going to be able to take the time that we'd like. We're almost rushed, and we have to eat at places to accommodate Mitch. He does like Panda Express, Chick-fil-A, Hawaiian Kind. He will eat most meats with barbecue sauce. Yeah, Isaac eats a lot. He loves popcorn. He'll eat more meats now. Like he'll eat big piles of meat, beef, and pork, and he'll do some chicken. But he's very particular about what he consumes. The other part that's a real pain in the ass is that he doesn't throw anything away, which I guess is good. He's not wasteful of anything. So if he buys a soda or a coffee or food, he's not going to throw it away. The problem is when you go on a road trip with him, he gets a drink of something no matter where we stop. And before you know it, all of the cup holders in my car are taken up, and I got no place for my coffee. I'm like, son, I understand that you feel like you need to have 5 beverages working all at the same time, but I have no room or anywhere to put my coffee now. He's like, oh, it's going to be okay. You can just have it between your legs. He couldn't care less about my situation. He just needs his 5 drinks. It's unbelievable. So I was getting irritated by that. So a couple of mornings I got up early, went out to the car and threw away a couple of old beverages. Fortunately, he did not notice. If he would have known what I did, he would have gone irate. Oh, he would have been ticked. But I'm like, I'm not going to have. He got a milkshake from like Red Robin or somewhere. He drinks milkshakes that have been sitting around for like a day or so. Disgusting. I'm like, dude, that's like milk. You understand that? You trying to make yourself sick? He couldn't care less. He's going to drink it anyways. I threw that thing away. Luckily, he had 4 of the beverages to bring into the vehicle, so he didn't recognize. Unbelievable. Oh, if he would have known, he would have been really ticked. Also, got this message. Theon growls at me and tells me no when he gets pissed about something. I love hearing about Isaac and how you guys interact. I've had the growls. I've had plenty of growls. All right, I want to share these with you because it's amazing. Someone did the great work of going through all of Kevin Durant's burner accounts where he's talking about other people in the NBA, including teammates, and compiled a list. And then he was asked about this post-All-Star game, and he did not deny. Let's just put it that way. Kevin Durant, and I don't know, I started out loving Durant, and then I thought he was really sensitive and did not understand his rabbit ears for someone with that much talent. But now he's like doing the unthinkable. I'm becoming a Durant fan again because of some of the stuff he says, and he's willing to air out about other players. But this list is remarkable. They compiled a list of all of Kevin Durant's burners, and here are some of the best of what he had to say. Quote, the Rockets franchise player Şengün can't shoot or defend. Quote, Jabari Smith is retarded. Quote, Steve Kerr has hated black people ever since Michael Jordan punched him in the mouth. Quote, if Israel needs drones, just let me know. Quote, Devin Booker and Frank Vogel are dictators. Stalin and Hitler. Mussolini and Kim Jong-un. Quote, the Suns are my team when we lose and Devin Booker's team when we win. That might be my favorite. The Suns team are mine when we lose and Devin Booker's team when we win. Quote, man, I miss Ben Simmons. At least he passed the ball. Quote, Steve Kerr never drew up plays or suggested anything, but we won a bunch of titles. Quote, I miss James Harden. He has a good heart. Kind of delusional, but I get him. That might be my number 2 favorite. Quote, Chris Paul doesn't know bleep. Quote, if you don't run the cutoff and pass the ball to Steph Curry, the Warriors will cut you. Quote, anybody know anything about Jokic's turnovers? That's probably my number 3 favorite. Quote, Kyrie didn't compete with me, but that triple-double addict Russell Westbrook did. There you go. Those are some of the best. That's Kevin Durant's burners if you need him. I just find it fascinating that a guy of that caliber of player with that much money takes so much time to go through social media to get after fools when he doesn't like what they say. And the willingness to crack on teammates through his burner accounts. Now, he was asked about this, the list of references from his, quote, burner accounts. And according to the report from the Houston Chronicle, Kevin Durant declined to comment when asked Wednesday about allegations that he used a burner account to disparage current and former teammates in private group chats. Durant's response, quote, I know you've got to ask the questions, but I'm not here to get into Twitter nonsense. I'm just here to focus on the season, keep it pushing. He didn't deny. He did not say that wasn't true, that he has no idea what that report's about. He just said, I'm not here to get into Twitter nonsense. Meaning, yeah, that's me. I use my burners to say what I had to say. Deal with it. So I'm starting to like Kevin Durant again because of his willingness to crack on guys. The Suns are my team when we lose and Devin Booker's team when we win. It's pretty good. Oh, Kevin. Again, if I had that much money and that much power, I wouldn't even give social media a second thought. I wouldn't care. All right, 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon. Very happy to be back in the saddle after some extended time off and the exceptional hours I was on the road yesterday. Let's go out to Estacada, Brandon. Hey, Brandon, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad. I'm doing good. I just had a thought about your whole conversation about where the Blazers end up and what's best for them. If it's up to me, I would wish them to finish somewhere in the play-in, but maybe not make the playoffs. And the reason why is just because I feel like if they got even a pick somewhere in the end of 14 range, going into the summer with that kind of an asset could possibly help them just bring in a better player. You could add that to the mix of picks that we already have. And, I mean, look at what New Orleans did last draft, with trading their picks to try and move up to get, I can't remember his name. But, I feel like it would be really valuable if you want to bring in another quality player to surround the Denny and Dame and all the rest of the young guys.
Well, you make a good point. And I guess the benefit is like, I just see it as a no-lose situation where if you miss the playoffs, they're going to make the play-in, but if you miss the playoffs, you get the draft pick. It gives you more ammunition to work with, which I'm fine with. If you end up getting through the play-in and make the playoffs, then it's going to be a great opportunity for the young guys. The good thing is about Joe Cronin is that he's got assets to work with, both players and picks, so he's put them in a situation where the cupboard is no longer bare. And you're right, if they have that draft pick to work with, that gives them more ammunition this summertime, which is a good thing.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I like where they're at. And what are you most excited about with the stretch run? Is it the young core like Denny and Donovan Clingan, Scoot, and Shaden, or what are you going to be watching?
I mean, I'm excited to see Scoot. I'm really sad that he missed so much of the season. And, when he's on the floor, it just changes things. There's an energy level that he brings to the court. It's like instant. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see all of it, really.
Now, are you talking about the Pelicans getting Derek Queen? Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, the trade to Atlanta and getting Derek Queen. And, well, that was he turns out, looks like he's going to be a good prospect and a good player, but that was, at the time, a pretty expensive asking price for that pick. So.
Yeah, no question. Well, I appreciate the phone call, Brandon, and you're not the only one that feels that way. Brandon is in a large group of fans who would prefer to see them keep the pick. The good thing is that they have assets to work with now, as they continue to move forward. And, this team is close. We're starting to see the fruits of their labor. We're starting to see the production of the young core. They're playing a good brand of basketball. I can't believe they got Denny Avdia. What a deal that was. Denny Avdia is a freaking pimp. And they got him for basically nothing. Sometimes being good or being a winning organization, sometimes you need some good fortune. They got that with the Denny Avdia deal. The Donovan Clingan pick looks pretty darn good, and we're seeing some flashes from Shaden Sharp. He looks like a keeper for sure, and we'll see what Scoot can do. He's been nice in the few games he's come back. I just can't wait to see how he progresses. The good thing about Scoot the rest of the way is that he's going to have energy. Fresh legs. A lot of guys at this stage of the season after the grind they're fatigued. They're tired. Most of the guys are because they've been playing big minutes, playing a lot of games, all the travel. But Scoot has had the benefit of, being out, resting, getting the hamstring right. Now he's back. His legs are fresh, which means he should be pretty explosive the rest of the way. Now, the one thing I love about Scoot, work ethic, you talk to anyone around the team, they'll tell you that he had a great summer. And that's why it was such a bummer when he ripped up the hamstring, because it was going to set back his timeline and an opportunity for the team to get him on the floor, have him play big minutes to see what he could really become off that great offseason of work. And so now the downside to Scoot is that he'll play in 30 games, 29 games, and you'll still be wishing that you had more data. I don't think executives are ever satisfied with the amount of data they have on the players that are on their roster. They're always looking for more data to be able to properly evaluate. But for Scoot, it'd be nice if he had a full season under his belt. I've seen enough from Shaden, he's a keeper. Tamani Kamara struggled early, but he's really coming along now. We're starting to see these guys who are, playing well. But Shaden Sharp has shown flashes of brilliance. And I think Scoot can be and do the same type of thing too, which is cool. So we'll see how it plays out. But Denny Avdia that's what it's all about with Denny. And that's what I'm excited about next year with Dame coming back. If he's willing to embrace, a secondary role and understanding he doesn't have to do it all himself anymore at his age, but become a marksman, think about the open looks he'll get with guys like Scoot and Denny creating for him. That's, with his ability, what's that word they use now for analytics? Gravity. Guys who demand attention when they're behind the arc, opening up the floor for their teammates. And the more space that Denny has, the more creative and aggressive he can be at attacking the rim and getting to the foul line. So that's fun. I love that. But Kevin Durant, I think I'm doing a 180 on that guy. I liked him at first. Then I thought he had too much of the rabbit ears and was too concerned about what people were saying. But now I'm starting to like him again. The one thing I respect about Kevin Durant, he's just a hooper. He is a gym rat. He loves the game. I think he's got a pretty good understanding of the history of the game. But in terms of talent, he's just one of the very best. Great shooter, great foul shooter, and he can play at the rim, in the mid-range, or behind the three-point line. He's the total package. I just haven't seen too many offensive players in my time watching the NBA that are as refined as he is. And then with his length, it's impossible to block his shot. And what's even more amazing is he's come off that Achilles injury that he had with the Warriors, and he's still great. He's a unique. And what's amazing about him is coming out of Texas, people were concerned about, he's very thin, very lanky, that he wouldn't be strong enough. But he's one of those wiry, really strong guys. Wiry and strong, which is what makes him unique. So there you have it. But I would say right now, Oklahoma City in the West, the two teams to compete with them would be Denver and San Antonio. And in the Eastern Conference, I think it's down to 3 teams right now as well. New York, Detroit, Cleveland, in some order. I just worry about, the Pistons in the half court. Can they execute in a half court game when they get into a 7-game series with New York? We need that. The 2 series that we must have again this year, we need New York and Detroit. And I respect the Pistons, man. They're physical and they got some big bodies. And New York's a tough team. We need that series, but we also need Oklahoma City and Denver again. That was a great playoff series last year. And I think San Antonio and Denver, or San Antonio and Oklahoma City would be fun as well. But Oklahoma City and Denver. I love watching Jokic play. I've come around on Jokic. Early on, I was a defender of Nurkic. But Jokic is a great, great player. I haven't seen too many people like him, and I can't wait to see that potential matchup again in the postseason. But I would expect Oklahoma City, with their depth, their versatility, and their defense, to emerge out of the Western Conference. And then we'll see what shakes out in the East. But I give the edge to New York and Cleveland, and we'll see what Detroit can do. I love their roster, their story, their young talent, and their physicality. I'll be pulling for Detroit, and I like watching them play. I just don't know if they're going to be able to navigate a 7-game series in the half court against Cleveland or New York. But we'll talk to Brad Bakken about that. So that's kind of how I'm viewing that. And then we'll see. But I don't know. Do you have the same problem adjusting to non-football life, coming out of football season and refocusing your mind? So now we got college basketball going on, and then we got the NBA stretch run coming up as teams are going to be back in action starting tomorrow, and the Blazers on Friday. And I love that game. Denver in town. Big-time matchup. The Blazers already have a big one over the Nuggets at home earlier this season. And I think it's a great way to start the stretch run with Denver in town. So I think the first 3 games are like tough. They're Denver, Phoenix, and I think Minnesota. 2 of those 3 games are at home, but it would be nice if Portland could, maybe start 2-1 during that 3-game stretch as they kick off the final 26. Like, I would love that. Love that. But it's going to be tough. Matchups are tough, but the Blazers' schedule as a whole, I'll say it again, I think they're going to go 19-7 in their final 26. I mean, you go through and count up the wins. Be conservative. How many games do you think they're going to win? Everyone I've talked to, I'm at the high end of 19. Everyone else I talked to is like anywhere from 15 to 19, meaning they're going to win the majority of their games down the stretch. That's the benefit of having your schedule be so tough to start the year, that now when you get a chance to finish up, you get a lot of these games against teams who are tanking or teams not really in the mix to compete for the playoffs or the postseason, and they get a number of games at home as well. But also very happy for Dame. That was so awesome to watch him out there stroking the 3 ball and rooting against Devin Booker. We all were. But I thought Dame made a good point that All-Star Weekend is what those guys make it. And when the stars show up and they compete and they give a good effort like Wemby did in the All-Star game, that's the big takeaway from this weekend. If you want All-Star Weekend not to be a bust, get more star people involved. Like in the dunk contest, I didn't care about any of those guys who were competing. They weren't stars, and I don't care. But if you get Dame in the 3-point competition, or next year, Steph Curry wanted to go out there with Dame and Klay Thompson, you get the big names competing in that event, I'll watch. And I think it was Wemby who set the tone in the All-Star game by playing his ass off and competing on both ends. The All-Star game, it's not about the format. I think the format created some of the competition that we saw, but it all comes down to effort. Like if those guys put in an effort and show that they care and they compete on both ends, it'll make the game good. Because if they care, we'll care. But when I know the athletes don't care, then why should I care? If they're not going to put an effort out there and it's just going to be a layup line for 48 minutes, I don't care. What I want is for them to get back to the East versus West, the traditional format, and then the guys give the same type of effort that we saw this past weekend. That, to me, is the winning ticket. East versus West with guys playing with the type of effort we saw this past weekend. If they do that, they're going to be fine. And then for the rest of the competitions, get the big names. The bigger the names, the more we'll care. That's what it comes down to, star power. And that's why I loved those competitions so much when I was younger. Dominique, MJ, Larry Bird. Check, check, and check. Big names. Because we care about the stars. We want to see them compete. And in the All-Star game, I just want to see the guys care and they're willing to play their ass off to win. Just natural, healthy competition. And when we get that, we'll tune in and support. I think they had a high of like 8.8 million viewers. Probably a benefit of having the game on NBC with the Olympics because you got an existing audience there already. But, props to them. It was good. That was a good weekend. But Dame winning in a Trailblazers uniform was awesome. Just doing what he does in the jersey of where he belongs. That's what Dame's all about. And I'm just glad he's back. I'm with everyone else. I think it was very simple once they reacquired Dame. I don't care what he does on the floor. I'm just happy that he's back where he belongs. That is the consensus thought there on Dame. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I'll share. I came across a new content creator on YouTube. I'll share that with you. I'm always looking for new things to watch and dive into. So if you've got ideas, share them with me. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Blazers hosting the Nuggets coming up on Friday. Tip at 7. Game day starts at 5 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Brad Bach and CBS Sports talking NBA coming up at 5:20. And the Blazers back in action on Friday. Nuggets will be in town. That game will tip off at 7. Game day live from Motor Center with Brendan Slaughter at 5 o'clock. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. I'm back after taking the last couple of days off on a road trip with Isaac. And very happy to be back. I'm looking forward to the stretch run. Can't wait to see Denny Avdia and company out there doing what they do. 4-1 going into the break. The addition of Vit Krejci, the team getting healthy. Scoot Henderson is back. Drew Holiday is back. Jeremy Grant is back. And we'll see how things shake out. I know the big question now is, what are they going to do with Sidy Cissoko? He has reached his limit of games he can participate in as a two-way player. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I can use math to figure out what will likely happen. You have two-way players who have been big contributors this year. One is Caleb Love, a guard. The other is a big-bodied forward, a wing player in Cissoko who's more defensive-minded. Well, just based on math, with the addition of Krejci, a guard, Drew Holiday returning, Shaedon Sharpe returning, like the Blazers have a bevy of guards now. So even though he has played well and exceeded expectation, I find it hard to believe that they would remove a player from the roster to add Caleb Love, to convert him. Because in order for no matter whether it's one or two players, you have to remove a roster player to convert one of your two-way players. Meaning you've got to remove someone from the roster to make room and then convert that player. So I just don't think it's going to be a guard. And that's nothing against Caleb Love. It's just a matter of simple numbers, right? The Blazers don't need guard help now that everyone's back and healthy. Plus, you need minutes. They've got to find a way to get Scoot on the floor, Krejci, Shaedon, the rest of the guys, Drew Holiday. Like, they don't need Love now. Now, with Cissoko, they could definitely use him. And I guess the big question would be this. What are they going to do with Matisse Thybulle? You know, he had the broken bone or whatever that situation was with his hand. So he's been out, but I believe that's healed now. But lately it's been knee tendinopathy, whatever that is. And he hasn't played in an extended period of time. He's also going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So I guess the question would be is Matisse Thybulle going to play? Because if Matisse Thybulle is going to play and then you get the return from Chris Murray, then you don't need Cissoko. But if Thybulle is not going to play, then I would suggest buying him out and then converting and creating the roster spot and converting Cissoko. So you need Cissoko if Thybulle is going to be unavailable. You don't need Cissoko if Thybulle is going to play. And I would prefer that Thybulle play because he's a better player. You know, he shoots the three ball better, good defender, great hands. You know, he creates chaos, which is what you want. I just don't know what the answer is on that. But that's what I would do. I'd keep Murray, keep Rupert, and then if you need to add Cissoko, if you know that Thybulle's not going to play the rest of the year, then buy him out. Come to terms, buy him out, create the space. And I think maybe the reason why they've waited this long is because the prorated price is a little bit cheaper by doing it at this stage of the game, which is going to help them because, you know, you got to convert Cissoko. You'd have to create a buyout and come to terms with Thybulle, but they need to do so with the numbers that would keep them under the luxury tax line. So it's a little bit tricky with the math. But that's a big question. What's Thybulle going to do? Is he going to play? If so, great. He's a good player and could help down the stretch. If he's not, they need another body. So come to terms on the buyout, release him, and then add Cissoko, convert him. Let's go back out to the phones. Let's go to Salem. John in Salem wants to talk some Blazers. John, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Bye, Chris Murray.
You think it's going to be Chris Murray?
I mean, he can't shoot, and he can play decent defense. I'd rather have another guard on the roster at a position that gets injured a lot more than our wings do.
My big question would be this, like, is Thybulle going to play? Like, do you think he's going to play? the rest of the way in the final 26 games? Because that's a big question to me. Because the advantage of Thibault is that his contract expires at the end of the year, and I don't expect them to re-sign him. So that's what I don't know. If you know that Thibault is going to play, then that's good. You could look at maybe releasing Murray and then adding Sissoko.
Yeah, you know what the Blazers need? The Blazers need a trainer. We got to fire our current trainer. Get all these guys off the injured list.
Well, I understand the frustration with the injuries. I will say this. The work they've done with Robert Williams III to get him in a space where he's been healthy and been able to contribute throughout the year, like they've done great work with him. So I've been very pleased with Robert Williams remaining available and productive throughout the year.
I wondered. He always looked healthy to me. I don't understand why he was ever on the injured list.
Well, some players' bodies are just a little more fragile than other players, John. And so what happens is they get nicked up. They get injuries. So the Chris Murray contract, he's still under contract. And they've got a club option for next year. Yes, that's what I would do. Keep Murray, keep Repair. Figure out what Thibault's going to do. And if he's not going to play, find a buyout, come to terms, and then convert Sissoko. But I guess the other thing, too, is we're talking about two-way players. Like, I'm not too concerned either way because it's not that big a deal. What really matters is all the rest of the key guys being available and healthy. If we're just being honest. Scoot, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan, Vít Krejci. Like the key players on the team, if they're healthy and available, then they're going to be fine. Because really what we're talking about now that they're getting healthy are just guys at the end of the bench. I just would rather have a guy on the roster in Sissoko who's going to be available if you need him down the stretch if Thibault's not going to play again. That's all. And what is that? Murray had the lumbar strain? I don't know what that is, but it sounds painful. That just sounds like something that would prevent or restrict movement, but I think he's getting close to making a return as well. So there you have it. 503-248-0620. All right, we'll get to the content creator. I did not get to him here. I do want to talk about Doug Moe, who is really one of the key factors in me becoming a basketball fan, who passed away. A great basketball mind, innovative, and a good coach. And his offenses were so much fun to watch back in the day. I'll share my thoughts on All-Star Weekend. We'll talk with Brad Botkin coming up at 5:20. And you got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. right, what's going on, my friends? Now 5 o'clock, Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. The Portland Trailblazers begin their stretch run post-All-Star break coming up on Friday. The Denver Nuggets will be in town. Tip-off from Moda Center at 7. Tickets available at trailblazers.com. Brendan Slaughter will have Game Day Live at 5 from Moda Center right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. After that, they'll be in Phoenix to meet the Suns on Sunday with that game tipping off at 5. Don't forget, every game streams live via our free iHeartRadio app. And every Tuesday on the Rip City Drive, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, your chance to win Blazers tickets to each and every home game. We're going to talk NBA with Brad Bakken at CBS Sports coming up on the Rip City Drive at 5:20. And according to reports, the Allen Trust has begun the process of selling the Seattle Seahawks. More of the Rip City Drive is coming at you right now. All right, Brad Bakken, CBS Sports, coming up in 20 minutes. If you're on hold, stay there. I'll get to your phone calls in a couple of minutes. 503-248-0620 is the best way to reach out to me if you want to talk. And I'd love to get your thoughts on what you think about the team and where they sit right now. One of the big points of contention that was made to me over the last couple of days was people who do not want the Trailblazers to be one of the top 8 seeds in the playoffs because they don't want to lose a draft pick. I had put out what my best case scenario was, or what my hope is for the rest of the way. And what I'm hoping is that the Blazers are able to position themselves to become the 8 seed and be a part of the play-in. I don't think they can get up to number 6, but become 8, so you're in the 7-8 play-in game. You only need one win to become a part of the playoffs, and if you win that game, you become the 7 seed, which would probably get you matched up with San Antonio. Not an easy matchup, but I'd rather play a team with no playoff experience compared to Houston or Oklahoma City in the first round. And if they don't make it through the play-in and you still get your pick in the upcoming draft, that's fine too. You know, the Blazers got a lot of tools to work with right now. Joe Cronin's done a good job of restocking the cupboard. This week, or this past weekend at the All-Star event down in Los Angeles, it was just awesome to see the Blazers well represented. We got to see young Hansen and Donovan Clingan going head-to-head in the Rising Stars Challenge. That was awesome. Donovan Clingan is a no-nonsense. He's kind of a blue-collar type dude. He just works hard and wants to win. But he's had a great year number 2 in the NBA. His leap from year 1 to year 2 has been substantial. He's been terrific rebounding-wise, especially on the offensive glass, getting better with his hands, and he's a double-double machine. So I like seeing him get some attention for the work that he's done. And for young Hansen, just having an opportunity to be on that stage and showcase, his skill set is nice. I'm a big believer that anytime your players get a chance to participate in an All-Star weekend or maybe an Olympic team where you're around other greats, I think you can learn a lot from those guys, being around those guys. Getting a chance to talk, ask questions, get an idea of how they approach things. I think it makes you better to be around those type of people. And then, of course, Dame. The best part of the weekend was Dame becoming only the 3rd player to win the three-point shooting contest for a 3rd time. Larry Bird is one of those players, along with Craig Hodges. So Dame joins very good company as a now 3-time winner, and he did so when he's not even available to play because of the Achilles injury. And he goes out there and wins. And he said and confirmed exactly what I thought going into it, that he just was looking for anything to get off and get some competition going, which is great. So great to see Dame, and I feel like everyone else. Just seeing Dame in a Trailblazer uniform out there competing, it just made things feel right because he's back where he belongs. That's how we felt when they reacquired him. He's trying to be patient in his rehab, but of course it's killing him that he can't play. He hates it, absolutely hates it. I love that. But he's happy to be back home. And it was really cool to have a chance to see him in a Trailblazer uniform. And then for Denny Avdia, I just was happy for him to get the recognition to be a part of the All-Star team for his play because he is a star player. And you can see how the other stars react to him, like they respect his game because they know how hard he works on both ends. And the fact that he's playing for an entire country of Israel and what it means for the Jewish people to have a beacon of light like that they can watch and enjoy and see him excel. It's pretty special. And he doesn't take that lightly. It means a lot to him to be able to represent his country and his people. And I love that. And I'm a big fan of Denny. I hate, the social media nonsense, the hate that he's getting for being Jewish and being from Israel. But Denny handles it well. And it was just great to see him out there competing. I think for Denny, the more all-star games that he goes to, and this won't be his last, he'll get more comfortable in that situation, that setting, in terms of how to attack, how to be a part of that, how to play with those guys around you. It's kind of, I would imagine, intimidating to a degree when you're taking that in for the first time and you're surrounded by so many great players. But the stretch run is coming up, 26 games to go. And between now and Friday, would you do me a favor? Would you please look at the final 26 games? I went through the schedule and I was amazed. I knew it was going to be easy. I just didn't realize how easy. I think they're going to go 19-7 down the stretch. The schedule shapes up nicely for Portland. So they're going to be a part of the plan. That's almost a guaranteed. And more importantly, they're getting healthy at the right time. And I think we'll see them play the type of basketball that was intended when they put this team together before the injuries hit at the beginning of the year. So they're in a great spot. Coming off the All-Star break, 26 games to go, healthy. And we're going to see them at full strength, which is great. Because this team at full strength is fun to watch. Let's go out to Pat in Portland. Hey, Pat, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What are your thoughts on the Blazers?
Well, I think they're probably going to be somewhere around 17 wins and 8 losses if we can stay healthy. And my question to you was going to be, there hasn't been much talk, if any, about where we're at with our previous coach and the gambling and all of that. I have not heard anything. Have you heard anything about what has happened either with the Blazers part of it, or are we ever going to get him back, or should we look at new coaching for the next year or so?
Well, I appreciate that question. There's no update because there's no new news in the situation with Chauncey Billups yet. Nothing new in regards to trial. And until that happens, we won't get any details. So we're going to have to wait. We'll have to wait before we get more details. The proceedings or further proceedings in this case is coming up on March 4th. He's already put out his plea of not guilty, but we'll get more details on March 4th. Now, in regard to the future, do I think Chauncey Billups is going to come back and coach the Blazers again? No, I don't. For a variety of different reasons. One, he's in, a legal situation right now with the case, so we don't know how that's going to play out. But also, mainly, you've got a new owner coming in. And a new owner, just think of it like this. If you bought a team, and the team that you purchased, if the head coach at the time was taken away after game 1 by the FBI because of a gambling situation, like a long-reaching investigation which resulted in multiple people being arrested in a gambling ring, do you want that guy back? Probably not. So the Blazers are going to remain mum. They're cooperating. They've got an acting head coach in Tiago Splitter, and they're going to let the legal proceedings play out. Now, let's say that Chauncey is fully exonerated and proven not guilty and exonerated of all charges. Would he come back? I doubt it, because the new coach is going to come in and want to hire his guy. Typically, owners will come in and do what they do. But not only that, but would a new owner want to continue on with a coach that's got that cloud of suspicion surrounding him, even if he's exonerated? My guess would be no. So, no, I do not expect Chauncey Billups to coach the Trailblazers again. Now, the question would be, what do you do with Tiago Splitter? He has done a heck of a job this year, considering the situation he's been in. When he was put in position to be the acting head coach, there's a lot of people around the league who think he's going to be a coaching star. I mean, it's up to Tom Dundon and what he thinks is best for the team. So we'll see. I would definitely think that Tiago Splitter has worked himself into a position where he'll get great consideration. Let's just put it this way. Whether it's Portland or somewhere else, Tiago Splitter will get another coaching opportunity. And I like Tiago Splitter. But here's where I'm at. Like, I'm not just ready to hand someone a job. If you got a new owner coming in and you've got a chance to evaluate everything, then evaluate. And go out and interview and go through an entire process to find the best possible candidate. If that's Tiago Splitter, make him the coach full time. If it's somebody else, make that guy the head coach full time. I just think you should look for the best possible candidates and hire the best possible person for the job. And if it's Tiago Splitter, then make Tiago Splitter the coach. I'm a big fan of Tiago. I think he's done a heck of a job. Can you imagine stepping in under the circumstances that he did? Brutal. But he's done a good job. And the season's not over. Let's see how things continue to play out. But he is coaching himself into a position where he's going to get opportunity, whether it's here or somewhere else. There's no question about that. But until the trial gets underway and we start to get more details, there's no update on Chauncey Billups right now. He's away from the team. The Blazers have an acting head coach who's filling the role right now in Tiago Splitter, and it's business as usual. But Tiago's done a heck of a job. Definitely done a good job. But I'm just a big believer that if you got a chance to hire, then talk to everyone and find the best possible candidate. And don't just hand someone the job because they're in the position. Find the best possible coach for the position and hire that person, whoever that is. That's how I look at it. And I like the idea of interviewing a bunch of people just so you can information gather on your franchise, on your team, and how other people around the league see it. What would they do? What's their plan? You can learn a lot about your team and the players that you have just by doing interviews and getting input from other people who have interest. So that's where they're at. But I went through the schedule. I think they'll go 19-7. 26 games to go. I think it's going to be 19-7, which will put them over 45 wins, which is great. It put them at 46. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Dang it, I didn't get to Doug Moe. We'll have to save that. Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, is going to join us coming up next, and we'll talk. I want to get his take on the Pistons and the Eastern Conference and how that shapes up with Cleveland, New York, and Detroit. Get his take on the Western Conference with Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston. We'll ask him about the KD burners and what he thinks about that, and get his take on Denny Avdia. I appreciate your time. Next Blazer game coming up on Friday. Tip at 7 against the Nuggets. And Game Day with Brendan Slaughter live from Moda at 5. And it's all right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620, or streaming live via our free iHeartRadio app. All right, very happy to go to the phones. Joined once again by my friend from CBS Sports who covers the NBA, Brad Botkin. And Brad, so many things to talk about, but you put out a good piece on listing your playoff teams from the East and the West with the stretch run now ahead of us, which will kick off tomorrow. I want to start with the Eastern Conference. You've got Detroit finishing number one with Cleveland, followed by the New York Knicks. And I love watching the Detroit Pistons play. I love their physicality, but here's what I wonder about them. Are they going to be able to survive a 7-game series against a team like Cleveland or New York when it comes to the half-court game? Because I'm not sure they have enough half-court offense. How do you see the Pistons?
Yeah, I worry about their shooting. I mean, I wish they would have done a little bit more. I mean, they get Herter, who's not shooting well. He's a shooter, but he's like 31% from three this year, but he is a threat. I do worry about that. But, it's all that you could kind of say that about every team in the East. You could say, like, okay, you take the Knicks and say, can their defense hold up with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the court? You could say about the Cavs, James Harden, is he reliable in the playoffs? So every team has something that you can ask yourself whether it's going to hold up in a postseason setting. And I just think, while certainly not a perfect team, pretty obviously Detroit has been the best team in the East and deserves the benefit of the doubt. It's not to suggest that they don't have some Achilles heels that could bite them in a particular series, but if they were faced up against the Cavs, I would put it this way, I would be more concerned about my concerns with the Cavs than I would with Detroit. Cade Cunningham is just so good and is really starting to get pretty close to Luka Doncic levels in terms of impossible to keep out of the paint, impossible to keep from spraying the ball around. Yes, it will come down to the guys that he sprays the ball to if they'll make shots, but that's more or less true of every team. So I have less concerns about Detroit than I do the other teams, but they do have an issue.
Yeah, no, I respect them a great deal. You know what else I like? And maybe it's because of the era that I grew up watching the NBA, but I like their interior play and their physicality. Like, they want to defend, and they're not afraid. They won't back down. Like, this is a tough basketball team. I respect that.
Yeah, no question. And it seems like we always, unless somebody is like a glaringly, we tend to we look at the Lakers or the Knicks or these bad defensive teams, and we use that as a reason to sort of say they're not contenders. But we don't seem to give the reverse credit to the good defensive teams. Like, then we want to point out the flaws in the team's offense. And so I'm with you. The reason I'm picking Detroit, yes, there is some flaws outside of Cade Cunningham offensively, but that defense is so good. And so I think that we tend to not give defense enough credit unless we're in a context where we want to cite it as the culprit and say, oh, you can't get by with this poor of a defense. But listen, an elite defense, it's the same reason that Oklahoma City was the best team in the league last year. It's the defense won that. The way that the Pacers started defending in the playoffs, they weren't a good defensive team all year. But when it comes time to win in the playoffs, being able to defend like Detroit is a big deal, particularly against a lot of flawed offensive teams too in the East.
Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, is with us now. With Cleveland, like, they would appear to be a tough matchup for everyone, right? With the addition of Harden. But more importantly, they've got multiple guys who can shoot. They've got guys who can defend on the perimeter. And I love that they have two bigs who are very good in the pick and roll. How do you see the Cavs right now?
Yeah, really good. So this is just going to be another classic, like, how much do you trust James Harden in the playoffs? I mean, I've thought for years that narrative has been a little bit, overplayed, that Harden disappears. He's certainly had a lot of huge games, and he had the Rockets within one win of beating maybe the best team ever. And it's not like he hasn't performed in the playoffs, but yeah, he's had some disappearing acts, and that's just going to be front and center in the conversation this year because Cleveland, for my money, is going to end up second. They have, I think, the fifth easiest remaining schedule. They have won 8 of 10, I believe, before Harden even showed up. They're 3-0 with him. So, they upgraded from Darius Garland for the rest of this year because Garland's not healthy. Long term, that's a great move for the Clippers. But this year, they got better. They were finding their stride anyway. So they're really good. Donovan Mitchell's been playing at MVP level all year, and now you get James Harden, which for all the criticism that he gets, he still runs a completely well-oiled half-court offense. You mentioned your concerns about Detroit. There's nothing stopping Cleveland in the half court now. They're going to be able to create virtually any shot they want. They can play big. They can play small. They can do. I'm watching some film on Harden right now with the Cavs, small samples, but he's already really developed good chemistry with Jared Allen in the two-man game. They've run some actions where now Donovan Mitchell is starting out the possession in the corner, where before he was the guy that was having to initiate everything and play facilitator and scorer. Mm-hmm. And to take that facilitator cap off of him, let him hang in the corner. There was one possession where Harden comes off a dribble handoff, Allen rolls down the middle, and Donovan Mitchell is hanging out in the corner. Defense collapses, whips it over to Mitchell in the corner. He's shooting 42% this year on spot-up threes, so he should get a lot more of those. And then the next time down, the defense ran out to Mitchell, and he hit Allen right in the seam as they vacated him. So now there's a lot of pick-your-poison stuff going on with Cleveland right now that's going to be very difficult to defend.
Well, I can't wait to watch it. I'll tell you what we need in the East. We need Knicks and Pistons or Pistons and Cavs. We need a 7-game series like that or all of them. I love it.
Yeah, I think the East is going to be, it's weaker, but it's so close, in terms of the competition. I think it's going to be a fantastic postseason. In the East, I'm actually more excited, I think, besides wanting to see what happens with the Spurs. They're the team that I'm going to be watching here the first couple weeks out of the gate. But at some point, we're going to have a conversation if the Spurs are actually the favorite. Yeah, not like, wow, they're further ahead than we thought. Oh, man, they might be able to get to the conference final. Like, they might deserve that they might be the favorite to win it all. They've won 4 times against OKC. They're only 3 games back. So what are we going to do if they end up with the number 1 seed and they beat OKC 4 out of 5 times? How are we not going to call them the favorite? So that's the one team that I'm really, really interested in the West. But overall, I'm with you. I'm very interested in the East because everybody is so close and so appropriately vulnerable. Like, there's no series that you can go into where you can say, oh, man, this team is just, let's go play the Pistons. It's like, man, I don't know if they can do enough outside of Cade creating everything. I don't know if that holds up through 7 games. I don't know if their shooting lets them down. I don't know if Harden shows up. I don't know if the Knicks can defend. Their numbers are worse with Jalen Brunson on the court. Cole Anthony Towns gets all the flack, but they're worse with Brunson on the court without Towns defensively. So Brunson's a big problem. Can they survive that? When Paul George comes back, you could start to make a case that, like, the Sixers could get hot at the right time. So the East is really interesting to me because there's no great team, and there's a bunch of teams that are all very, very close.
I'm with you on that. So in the West, if Oklahoma City doesn't get back to the finals, why will it be? Because of health or because it's a bad matchup if they meet the Spurs in a 7-game series?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the reality of, what is it, 7 champions in the last 7 years?
Yeah.
So no team that's won in the past, forget back-to-back, they haven't been able to go back and do it in the next 7 years. So, I mean, I think that, it's sort of like back when Tiger was playing and you could bet the field. It's like there's no Tiger now. Even the Thunder are not Tiger. It's the field is too good. So you always take the field. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. There's too many things that can happen when the margins are this small. And as we're finding out, at the beginning of the season, it looked like, wow, maybe Oklahoma City is prime Tiger. Maybe they are just way better than everyone else. And now we're coming to find out, they've lost 4 or 5 to San Antonio. They've only got a 3-game lead on them. They basically battling with Detroit for the best record in the league, and they've had the easiest schedule in the league so far. So they've got a top 2 or 3 in terms of schedule difficulty the rest of the way. Now they're enduring injuries. SGA's out. There's no return timetable on Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein. So these things pop up, right? And last year they were pushed to the brink. They went 7 with Denver. They, in my opinion, would have lost in the finals if Halliburton didn't go down. So they're just not enough better than the field for everything to not have to go perfect. That's what it comes down to. And it's tough for things to go perfect.
That's a very good point. Where do you come out on this debate with the NBA and tanking and this ridiculous idea of having rookies be free agents instead of having a lottery?
Okay, you think that's ridiculous? I'm not sure, because I always hold out for the unintended consequence that I can't see. And I don't know how they would have a salary cap and if they would actually hold it, or if just 8 big market teams would end up buying every player. I don't know how the unintended consequences would come out, but until something like that is done, until they freeze the standings at the All-Star break or, they do something, there's absolutely no way to argue against tanking. So you have to ask yourself the question of how big of a deal it is. Like, okay, so Mark Cuban came out recently and said that he thinks the NBA needs to lean into tanking, that it's the much bigger problem is that the games are too expensive to go to and the pricing the common fan out and all these other problems that the NBA has. Nobody cares about the regular season. It's too long, too many games, blah, blah, blah. Tanking maybe shouldn't be the focal point. If you are somebody that believes tanking is a major problem, which I think the two things go hand in hand. I think tanking is a problem because of how much it costs to go to games. I think player participation and load management, that's a problem because of how expensive it is to go to games.
Yes.
If it was reasonable to go to games, and you could, if you didn't see your best player, you could go to another game in a month. But to go to games now and take a family, it's $600-700 minimum, right?
Insane.
If you've got a family of 4. So the guys have to play. The teams have to try to win. You can't expect. So until those prices come down, until something's done from that, then I don't think tanking is good, and I'm up for pretty much any solution, including maybe making it free agents. I always wonder, if you're the best lawyer, if you're the highest GPA in Harvard Law in your class, you don't get told you have to go to the most dysfunctional law firm out of school. You earned the right to go pick the best law firm. The best law firms come recruit you. So I know it's not quite that simple of an analogy, but I do believe that, you look at all the quarterbacks in the NFL that they probably didn't make it because they just ended up in a crap franchise.
Of course.
They had 7 different offensive coordinators in their first 8 years, and there was total dysfunction, and they got sacked 1,000 times like David Carr or any number of other quarterbacks, or Brady Quinn ending up on the Browns, and your whole career because you just got unlucky in the draft. I do believe that, if you're that good and you're that talented, being able to decide on your future is something I would be open to listening to.
Well, I'm definitely with you. I think the two biggest problems right now for the league, through my eyes, are load management and teams that are tanking. For people like my dad, he cannot fathom the idea of a player making $50 million a year and not showing up to play every night if physically able to do so. It's foreign concept to him. He's like, what's up with that? And it's a good question. What is up with that?
It is a good question. There's a divergence in goals. So from the team standpoint, their whole goal is to try to win a championship. And so resting a guy and getting the 4th seed instead of the 3rd seed is beneficial to your goal of trying to win a championship and be as healthy as possible for 16 games in May and June.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But the goal of the league overall, and the reason these guys get paid so much money, is because it's a nightly Broadway show. It's because there's 82 games, and every night you go. That's why they get paid all that money. In terms of why people love the NBA, somebody wins the championship every year. Mm-hmm. So that's not why these guys are getting paid all that money. You get paid all that money even if you play for the Wizards, because the NBA is a 6-month thing. It's a Broadway show. You go to a Broadway show, the lead actor is not like only there 3 nights a week. He's there every night. And that's what you pay for to go see.
So true.
And so that's the divergence. Is the goal of the league overall to make money, and TV rights is for games on Tuesday to matter. But the goal of the team, the only game that matters is in May. And those two separating things make for a very difficult situation.
Well, and you make a very good point on the people showing up to see certain players. Like, that's the reason why they're paying the big money, is because they want to see the stars. Yeah. With the dynamic pricing, I've always thought that if you show up to a game and they have a late scratch of a couple of star players, they should refund a portion of that money back, because the product you paid for is not the product you're getting. It's not anywhere close.
I agree. And the secondary market kills everything. I mean, I don't know how much the teams in the league control this.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if it's not a last minute scratch, like if Steph Curry isn't playing, the ticket shouldn't cost as much. From the outset. Forget if he's a late scratch. Like if LeBron James isn't on the ticket, Even if you know 3 days ahead of time, the prices should reflect.
Yep.
They certainly reflect it the other way. When Steph Curry and LeBron James are in town and they're going to play, the tickets skyrocket. So, but I mean, now we're getting into, corporate America. I mean, I got a lot of beefs with that.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
As do we all. So yeah, it's dicey, but I do think in the end that they have to do something about, at the end of the day, we've got probably over a third of the league actively trying to lose for these next 6 weeks. So it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
And, I can understand why some of these bookmakers might be a little bit frustrated because these teams that throw in the talent tank, like, I know people that made money just fading the Blazers the last couple of years down the stretch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and if Adam Silver is, he's in bed with, the gambling now. There's no way out of it. And so if you're going to be this connected to it, then yeah, there are serious implications. You sort of can't treat gambling like this sort of fringe peripheral factor, like, oh, well, the last thing we're worried about is, Joe Blow, who's got money on the Wednesday night over-under. No, that's not the last thing, because you've said this is where our money's coming from now. This is, we're like leaning on this financially as a league. So it's not, you can't, when it comes to sort of like structuring your league and who you're structuring it for, your audience, well, you can't, in one sense, be basically building your league based on gambling. But then when things negatively impact gambling, sort of treat it like, well, what do you want us to do? Make policy for the prop bettors? It's like, well, yeah, that's what you've made the league.
All right, let me ask you a question real quick on the idea of having free agents. I mean, can you give us an idea of how that might look if you didn't have a draft or a lottery and you just had free agents? What would prevent players from signing all with the same team, or how would that look exactly?
It's very simple. You have to have a salary cap, and you have to have a hard cap. That's it. You can't go over. So if you want to allocate $40 million to Cooper Flagg, if you think he's worth that, that's fine. But it's just like signing any other max player.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to sign a bunch of other guys. So you actually have to make these decisions. You could also institute where, like, based on record, you could have that salary slot available to you. I think that's a fairer way of doing it. So say if you end up with the worst record, then they make that, okay, you've got the top salary spot. There's still a rookie scale. So at number one, you can offer $11 million a year, just to put a number on it. And if you're the second worst record, you can offer $10 million. And if you get down to the 25th best worst record, the fifth best team in the league, they only get $6 million to offer. But it is now the agency of the player to decide, okay, this team can't pay me as much, but long term, that's probably better for my career and for my second contract. And there's a real decision to make. You're coming out of the league, and it's like, hey, the Wizards can give you $14 million, and the Warriors can give you $6 million. There's a lot of people that might put their long-term glasses on and say, I'm not going to take the short-term money to torpedo my career on a go-nowhere. That'd be an honest decision to have to make. So you could still give some upside and the ability to offer more money to the worst teams, and there are some guys that would take that. And then, of course, all the good teams are good because they already have a bunch of expensive players, so they can't offer as much, and they probably can't offer as much playing time. So guys are going to have to worry about, am I going to become the next Jonathan Kuminga and not get a chance to develop because I go to contender A and play 7 minutes a game when I would get 30 minutes a game here. All these factors that actual free agents have to weigh, then the rookies would have to weigh. And there's unintended consequences down the line somewhere that'll end up popping up that nobody can see coming. It always happens. But on the surface, I do kind of, as long as you have a hard cap. If you don't have the cap, and it's just, the Lakers can go out and pull a Dodgers, and they get all the best veterans and all the best young players, then obviously you can't. You'd end up with the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Knicks. But if you have a cap and you can only spend this amount of money, then spend it on whoever you want. How good is Cooper Flagg? How much is he really worth? That's a pretty big. How many top draft picks fail? A lot of them. So it's a pretty dicey thing to say, well, screw it. Who's the best player in the draft next year? We'll give him $40 million. Teams would think twice about that. They don't know. DeAndre Ayton was the number one pick at one point. So you'd have to really think about it. And to me, I think until they do something like that, your tanking is going to be inevitable. It's sort of like telling teams not to foul when they're up 3 late in the game. It's terrible for the product. It's terrible for entertainment. But until they change the rule, there's no argument against it. And the same thing is true of tanking. It's absolutely terrible for the product. But until they change the rule, there's no argument against it. Winning 6 more games and ending up with the 10th seed doesn't hold a candle to potentially getting the number 1 pick and drafting a player that can change the trajectory of your franchise for the next decade plus. There's no argument against tanking until they change the rule.
It's a great point. Brad Botkin is with us. One more question before you go. Trailblazer fans are excited about the young core, but as you know, if they make the playoffs, if they get through the play-in and make the playoffs, that pick will convey to Chicago. But where do you place the value on that pick compared to having these young players get a chance to play more meaningful games and get playoff experience? How do you see that?
Blazers are past tanking. Okay, the Blazers have enough good players. They're starting to build enough momentum. They're starting to build enough culture that now it's time for these guys, to your point, to play in real games with real stakes and start figuring it out when it really matters. They've got a lot of good players, and whoever they're going to get with, what would they end up with? The 13th pick, the 14th, whatever. Go look at the list of draft picks, and of course they could pull a Hawks and or Mavericks and pull off some crazy lottery thing. But is the pick protected? I have to go look at the. Go look at the protections on the pick.
It's protected.
What's it protected for?
I'll get the numbers on it for you.
Well, either way, I love the Blazers' young players, and I would not advocate. You've played to win all year, and look, Kamara and I love Shaden Sharp and Klingon, and they've got enough veteran leadership, and look, Dame's coming back next year. Like, there's a real team here. The other layer, and I do the same thing with the Jazz, because I love the Jaren Jackson
top 14 protected.
Okay, so if they end up in the lottery, they keep it.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. They're going to end up with, they don't make it, they're going to be on the fringe. They're going to get like the 13th pick. So go back and look at the history of 13th picks. 85% of them don't do anything. So I'm playing to win. I like the team. I think that the problem is I feel the same way about the Jazz. The conversation has to be, unfortunately, had in the context of conferences. So, if the Blazers were in the East, this team in a couple years, maybe even next year with Dame back, could be like a legitimate, puncher's chance conference finals team. They get the right matchup, and they end up in the West. It's I love all their young players. Lillard's coming back. They still got Holiday. They still got Grant. I mean, we'll see what they do with all these guys. But there's 9 real NBA players here, and they're probably still just a play-in team. And the same thing is true of the Jazz. They went and made this big move. I love their defense with Kessler and Jackson, and now Keontae George has come along, and Markkanen, and then they got all these Ace Bailey, and it's man, I like them. But it's still, in the West, it's only good enough to probably be a play-in team.
Yeah.
Whereas if they were in the East, with that roster, that kind of length defensively with Markkanen and Jackson and Kessler next year, they'd be a real problem. They'd be a team like Detroit that could be oh my God, they might come out of nowhere and end up being the first seed come January. The discrepancy in conferences is so extreme. It's another talking point, just like tanking. I mean, we're trying to play at the highest level here. We're trying to decide who the very best teams are, and the discrepancy between conferences is so dramatic. You kind of can't operate the same way depending on what conference you're in. You can't. That's the only reason that we're asking about the Blazers. Man, should they tank, because they're only a 9 seed anyway. In the East, they'd be playing for something real, and it changes the whole outlook of your franchise. And so, again, I'm progressive in all these things. I'd be talking about eliminating conferences. I'd be talking about 1 through 16 playoff formatting. I'm up for all this stuff, because I think it's an absolute joke that an awesome team in the West is going to have to go through Denver and Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Houston and the Lakers. And whoever gets through the East is not going to have a hard, LeBron going to 8 straight finals. The East was a joke. And so even if you end up winning when you get to the finals, it's like your path there was so much easier. It's not equitable in any way. So I'm up for drastic measures to get rid of tanking. I'm up for drastic measures to get rid of the conference discrepancy. These things are really, really messing with the competitive landscape, in my opinion.
Well, I'm with you on that. And, for people like you and I, we care about the game and want it to be in a good place moving forward. Brad Bachkin, CBS Sports, you're freaking awesome, man. Have a good night, and we'll catch up soon, and I appreciate the insight.
Okay, thanks, Jed.
Gosh, love him. That's my man, Brad Bachkin. Let's go to Kevin in Silverton real quick. Kevin, I appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was listening to what you were talking about there, and I heard on another show a suggestion that if you would take the 14, I think it's 14 teams that don't make play-ins, and take the one with the best record, and they get the number 1 pick, and the one with the worst record gets the number 14 pick, it gives the teams that aren't in the playoffs a reason to win.
I think that's a great idea, Kevin. I'm definitely on board with that. Anything to, help the game. And the two biggest issues right now, it's not length of season. 82 games has been great ever since I've been a kid. The problem is load management and tanking. And that would be a good way to solve it. It's like, okay, who's got the best record of the 14 teams that are in the lottery? Let's give them the first pick. That's not a bad idea. We'll keep things rolling. You got the Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Brad Bachkin. Love that guy. So good. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, big thanks to Brad Botkin and Dave Deckard, and I appreciate your phone calls and insight today. Very excited about the stretch run. You know, for the NBA, I care a lot about the game. I want what's best for it, but load management and tanking, I think, are the two biggest problems. And I'd say that's about it. You know, for businesses, just looking at things from a strict business sense, like I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I've never understood businesses getting too involved in politics. Just stay away from it. Be atypical or apolitical. That's probably the best way to do it. Just stay away from the nonsense. But those two big things, tanking and load management, you gotta find a way to solve it, because it sucks when you show up to a game after paying big money and you don't have the stars going. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program today. I'll be back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3. And don't forget, Trailblazers kick off their stretch run Friday night, Moda Center. Tip off at 7 against the Nuggets. Blazers Game Day Live at 5 with Brendan Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.